It's always great having these guys here. For the past couple of years, they've been great supporters of the Snowtown Film Festival, so thank you guys for being here again. We'll get you guys set up there. Anyone who's got the first question in the crowd tonight? You guys want to talk amongst yourselves? Okay, here we go.
Draw straws. Hey, congratulations, guys. I think they're really great shorts. I wanted to ask you about what's it like to, did you have any issues filming on location in New York? Was that a thing? How is that?
That is a challenge. Friday was the worst one as far as that goes, because the other shows were pretty contained. We had to cheat the shot. First of all, if you have a lot of money, it usually helps. We don't have a lot of money. So we sort of steal the location. So we had to steal Lincoln Center for My Hero. We got kicked out of there the first time we tried to shoot it. So we had to come back and try again. It's just a quick thing. It's just what Laura and I tried to pretend we were just leaving the show. And like Zach, bum rushes. So we went out there, and during intermission, we tried to filter out with people. But like at the very end, so people were coming in and we were coming out.
I have a couple of friends who sing at the Met, so I knew where the schedule, where the schedule was and all that. Tried to time it out, but as soon as you have any sort of lighting, even if it's a little LED panel, security just goes, "Hey, go away." Well, we went back another day, and it just so happened that another production was filming around the corner, so they just figured we were a splinter unit, and nobody bothered us at all.
And the car scene, and that where the valet, ladies and gentlemen, the valet, Zack Kron, the valet.
It's hard to walk away from the camera.
That's underneath Lincoln Center. That's the Lincoln Center garage, and I thought that was going to be the biggest problem. I thought we'd be able to get the first part easy, which was not the case. But the garage, nobody bothered us. I was been terrified the whole time the police were going to come and kick us out. Because you have people who come and help you, and it's not that easy to get them to come back. We got through that, but Friday was more of a problem, because Friday, I intended for it to be, I actually, without getting too heady, I intended the seasons to play a part in Friday, so I wanted her to have gray skies, and we tried to film it in December, and through a lot of weather conditions and whatnot, it ended up getting put off to, I think, February?
For some of it, yeah.
Working with a kid, I was not going to have him work outside when it was 20 degrees. I'm just not going to do that. I'll have him work outside, but not a child. Yeah. So it got pushed and pushed and pushed, and there was an unseasonably warm day. So if you pay attention in Friday, it starts out okay, but by the end, there's like girls in pink hot shorts and stuff like that going by, and the crowd changes. And we were actually filming at the Shake Shack area in Madison Square Park, which we didn't get kicked out of thanks to Zach's amazing silver tongue. But we almost got kicked out. It was a huge stress on my part. A Frank Sinatra imitation band started playing, which I didn't think we could use any of the footage that we were getting. It was a gigantic challenge, but I think we pulled it off.
So yes, there are challenges shooting on location. Usually you can find a way to make it work, but there's always something, and you just be prepared to roll with it. And
you have to be prepared to think on your feet.
And if you're the guy who's got the camera, that's who they're going to talk to. He's the director, but they don't talk to him. They talk to me, because I'm the guy standing there with the camera and the boom pole and all of the stuff. Be like, why are you looking at me?
So, what did you say? What did you have to tell them to?
Well, can I? Oh, He was a genius, and he thought, key to life, think 3 steps ahead. So he had printed up some falsified permit
It wasn't
forms.
false. It was
Sorry.
the real permit. It just wasn't signed. Little details. Or at least it wasn't signed by the mayor's office. It was signed by someone.
I might have signed it. I don't remember. but I mean, that's what people sort of do, you know. Right? I don't know.
Another question? Yeah.
Hey there. I obviously all these films that we have the same cast of characters. I don't know if these are your family members as well you're working with, or at least the same people. What's it like to recast, cast again in different roles and some of the challenges that you come with that. Because you're seeing these films back to back, you know, it's kind of a challenge. I've seen them independently in different screenings, but now watching them 1, 2, 3, it's like, oh, I have to kind of rethink how I'm, you know, viewing these characters. And so, what's the challenge for you with rewriting these scripts with the same people, same talent, but in different roles?
It's interesting. I'm glad you guys did a great job in the screening order, because Zach, he was like, I don't know what order they're screening. I hope they do Friday first and then My Hero and Oh Boy, because those two are together. I sort of have that in mind as a series. We just finished filming the follow-up to Oh Boy, and I have the next one. I haven't written it yet, but I have the next one already in mind to do. So it's comfortable and easy. I like working with the same people. These people now are all my friends, and they're like family. Zach is like a brother to me. Laura, I love her. Milo, the boy is her boy in real life, and he's a great kid. Rob, who played Rico and Gary, I worked on a TV show a long time ago called The Street with Rob, and that's how I met him, and we've done plays together. It's comfortable for me as a director to work with the same people. Got to be the right people, and it's honestly scary. We trying to expand the Todd and Patricia universe to My Hero, Oh Boy universe. We finally cast Rebecca. So if you guys have us back next year, hopefully you'll get to meet Rebecca, the infamous Rebecca, who's everybody afraid of. New person, you put out a casting notice, you hold auditions. And you don't know who you're going to get. I've had horror stories with actresses and actors that I've cast, and it's always nervous. So I like getting a core group that I can get together. The challenge, if you're writing different stuff, is not falling into... The Todd and Patricia characters are very comfortable for me to write. It's easy to get stuck in that if you're trying to do something else. So I try the best I can do, if I'm going to do something else, to really break away from that and give... As friends and as actors, it's fun to be able to do different things, and if I can help write something that facilitates that, I think I've done my job. But it's challenging and it's comfortable at the same point. That makes sense, right? But if you have the wrong people, they obviously wouldn't be in 3 of the movies, because I never want to see them again. Look up The Peanut Butter Experiment. I'm not going to say any names, but yeah.
Rob was in that one too.
It wasn't Rob, though. He was in the other movies.
Yeah, I was not.
Another question? The waterfall in Friday in Love, that looked very familiar.
Good eye.
We shot that. We screened My Hero here, and we can't tell you how much we love Watertown and the Snowtown Film Festival. Amazing. You guys are the best. The town's awesome. And I had written Friday already by the time we came. Actually, I don't even know if I had written it, but I had the idea at least.
You had some on paper.
I had some. I liked the idea of, going back to it, the seasons. I wanted to make it clear that it ended up not being real, but I didn't want it to seem like, oh, it was a 3-day fling. So that's why I tried to have snow, waterfall, the beach. The beach was Coney Island. I tried to show that, and we fell in love, and we wanted to kind of put the Watertown stamp on it. And so when we were here, we asked if there's any scene thing. I kind of forget who it was. Maybe it was Steve. I don't know who it was.
Yeah, we asked around. We checked Google Maps to see what might be on our way back.
So on the drive home, maybe it was a slightly hungover drive home. We filmed that scene and we captured it. And we put it. We got that scene. That was the first shot of that movie.
It was.
And we didn't shoot the rest of it for
a couple
months after that, I don't think. Was it?
It was a couple months, yeah.
A couple months, probably. But yeah, no. We wanted to put Watertown in the movie. Yeah, we didn't even know the name, but we pulled over. We tried not to get hit by a car. We just went over and boom.
Someone tried to chase us out of there, too.
Someone actually did. I don't know if you're not supposed to be there or not. We
You got out of that one too, Zach. Good.
Yep. I smiled.
Wait,
I
waved. Zach.
We've got a permit right here. It's more questions? Something you guys can think about? I've got a whole list. Want me to give you a couple?
Spread them around.
Well, I guess, because you guys have been here for a handful of years, and I know we have some new folks that are here new. Can you give us a little background on you guys, of why you're doing this, what you started from, where you're from, just a little bit more about you guys?
Yeah, we're both, well, I grew up in New York. I grew up outside the city, and I traveled. I went to school in California for a while. I went to school in Pennsylvania. I went to school in Arizona. Graduated in 4 years, summer school. So I traveled around, but I'm from New York, and I wanted to sort of stay out west. And frankly, it was easier to come back east because I didn't have that many connections out west. So I came back east, and really, I love writing. I love acting was the real thing. The writing comes from, you hustle and you try to get auditions and you try to get cast and stuff. But anything you can do to sort of take control of that yourself, it helps. And I enjoy the writing. It's a little escape for me mentally. So that's where that sort of came from. The whole thing was really facilitated for the acting stuff. And I like the directing. When you write something, I would find it very difficult to give that to somebody else and let them do it because they don't have the same picture in their head that you have in your head as you're writing, so it's difficult. But all of this stuff was facilitated just to, hey, the dream, we're working on a feature that we've been batting around a little bit. We're not there yet. But the dream is to get feature-length movies in, movie theaters, and that's my dream, and get acting work, have other people, which they have, and I've been fortunate enough that I get cast in other stuff with other people too. But that's the goal, and to be able to have that be sort of your 9 to 5 is been actually working out okay for the past few years for me, but it grow forward and bigger and better and more inclusive.
See, I'm on a 9 to 5. I wind up working like 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. and foolish hours.
Zach is on the full-time, he's full-time on the crew of, which has not aired yet.
No, I'm...
Katie Keene, but he also is on the crew of Miss Maisel, the Marvelous Miss Maisel. So I don't know if anybody's seen that. I have not, actually. I should. But so he's busy now. He doesn't have the same time that he used to. So
yeah, it's tricky. I grew up in New Orleans, moved to New York, went to school. I was an acting major and was not getting work. And one day said, I'm going to go do this writing workshop, and got an idea from the one-day writing workshop of, they're trying to sell the big class. I was like, I'm going to turn this into a little short film and shoot it myself one day in the afternoon in my apartment. And I did that, and then people started hiring me to shoot their things, and I auditioned for a film for him and did not get the part. But we ran into each other again, and we had both done other things, and we're showing each other on our phones, hey, look, I did this, and now I've shot everything for him since, and he even writes me roles sometimes. But yeah, I made the transition from pursuing acting and mostly bartending to working full-time on crews like Maisel and Katie Keene, which premieres in like 2 weeks, and then we're doing another pilot, and then back to Maisel again, and I've been lucky to fall in with a lot of good people. But I do find that I enjoy being on the other side of the camera, being behind it and trying to tell the story with the camera and with the setups and the angles and the camera movement and however else I can. I do write and direct some of my own pieces. He was my lead in my two of my last 3. So that's been great, having somebody. And just shot another one without him, but hopefully, even though it doesn't have him, maybe it'll be here next year. We'll see. It's like 3 minutes, so we'll see what happens. But I'm still editing that one, and then the one we just finished, that's the 3rd of the Todd and Patricia series. We're just starting to edit that because we just wrapped photography on that last weekend.
And we introduced his real character in that one. So
I have like 2 whole lines this time.
But they're good. They're important.
He wrote them.
They're funny.
Do Todd and Patricia work it out?
Can I tell you the challenge? Talk about a challenge I had with Todd and Patricia. My hero. I needed to make her not a complete not that she was whatever, but like I didn't want the whole series to be bang 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 bang. They're butting heads. Look at this. They're just. So that was actually challenging because it's easy to fall into that. Oh, we'll just have them argue more. So if you're asking if they work it out with kids, that's
Well, they got some issues.
yeah. Well, you know, I think that makes the best relationships when you don't fall lockstep 100% with each other in every single daily decision. But as far as children, no children so far for Todd and Patricia. But as far as working like arguing and this and that, and we had a critique with like. We sort of got a bad review for My Hero because they were like, well, what happened? I'm like, well, that wasn't the story. What happened, that wasn't the story I was trying to tell. Obviously, she's alive. We're all good. No.
Have you ever think about doing like a feature with those characters?
I've thought about it, but I think for now, with this. I say I'm trying to grow the universe. Like Zach's character now is his introduction, and in the follow-up, he may even have the best part. He may have the funniest role in the next one. You might not, so don't hold me to it. But it works better as a shorter series. I think at this point, I would love if enough interest was generated. It would be fantastic to make a feature, and I think I could do that. But right now, that's not what I'm thinking for this. But you never know.
Seems like comedy is your thing, or I mean, do you do?
I gotta tell you,
dramatic stuff in both. I mean, there's challenges with both. But what would you rather be doing? And
there's absolutely no question that I would rather do comedy. Now, I like to do comedy that has. It occurs to me. I was new to the festival game years ago, and it occurred to me, I was like, this doesn't turn funny until like halfway through. Like I do a lot of setup for sort of then it's kind of like the punch. Like oh boy gets funny with the hopefully at the flashbacks. Then it's funny. 'Cause it's really not funny up until I try the Rob character with Rico and with the Gary in the beginning. And he's a little bit of my comic relief bleeder, right? You get a little bit of that. But I think comedy's funnier when it is attached to some sort of drama that's actually a real thing. And maybe, but I don't know, it's just the way my mind works, where I do a lot of setup, I guess, and then hopefully the payoff is worth it. The first movie I did with Zach was what was supposed to be a murder mystery, like legit, like Agatha Christie style murder mystery. It wasn't supposed to be funny, it was supposed to be dramatic. It's called The Barnegat Hangover. 3 pages into it, it turned into a comedy. So it was still like a legitimate murder mystery, but it became a comedy. I don't do the drama very, very well. I tried. And I'm not saying I can never do it, but it's just, my head works better with comedy. My mother says I think with like a cartoonist's mind, so so comedy.
oh, this gentleman in the back has a question. Oh wait, Steve.
He counts.
Hey guys, I'm guessing if anyone read the great article in the Watertown Daily Times, they want to hear about the Joker, Joaquin Phoenix. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that situation.
That was a very cool situation. I was Joaquin Phoenix's stand-in for the whole run of the Joker movie, and frankly, stand-in work. I don't know how much anybody knows about the nuts and bolts of that. Stand-in work's no actor dreams to be a stand-in. But, it gets me my health insurance and hopefully a pension, and it pays the bills. So you do it. This was an exciting thing for me. It was a 3-month shoot. Getting to see Joaquin Phoenix do his thing, it was so... I feel like I learned so much as an actor watching that whole process, and I tried to stay out of his way. The last thing he needed was for me to, hey, what's going on like before? He was very intense. I don't know who has seen the movie, but it's a dark, intense, all immersive sort of thing, and it was crazy. That was the longest day-to-day job that I ever had. It was every day. I worked more days than he did because they would have some tech days and stuff that I would come in for and do the lighting stuff and whatnot. It was the coolest thing. was, one, I got to do a scene with Robert De Niro, because we sort of read the lines of that. There's a bit where he's the Murray Franklin show, and he's essentially a Johnny Carson type character. And Joaquin was in his whatever, and I got to read the scene with Robert De Niro, which was awesome. And the producer, he was like the production design producer, not the main producer, but he was like the designer, but the head guy. Took my picture, and I have it a huge. He gave me a huge frame photo, which is a great keepsake from the movie, of me as Joaquin in the Murray Franklin thing. And he stands up in the audience and he asks him a question. So to have that, it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to think back about that and really see the whole process of a really, really, who I consider one of the great actors out there right now, and see the thing. I think I'm doomed because I'm not as quirky and nutty as he is.
Have you looked in the mirror?
But like I'm not in a good way, quirky and weird. But he was a very sweet guy, and he was very nice, and he did a few very, very nice things for me personally along the side of the shoot. So the whole thing was a very positive experience, which is surprising because frankly I did another standing gig on the new Aaron Sorkin movie. I stood in for the Jerry Rubin character, who I didn't even know who he was, but there's like the Democratic Convention in 1968, there was a thing, I guess. And I stood in for the Jeremy Rubin character, and I hated it. I hated it every day. I mean, I needed the money, so I did it, and it was great. But they were awful to me, and everybody hated it. The whole crew wanted to get out of there, and it was terrible. So that was what I was expecting with the Joker. But the Joker was a very, very positive experience.
Any more questions that we can think of?
I was gonna wear my Joker hoodie that they gave me when they wrapped, but figured that would be too much.
You guys talked about casting, and obviously you've been. We're here now. Do you have any advice? So if we had some aspiring actors or someone who wanted to get into just helping out and being part of a film, I think growing up, all my friends had cameras, and they're like, "Hey, I need you to be the boom operator, an actor, the driver, and if you could bring the food, that'd be great." So but nothing ever went anywhere. But from being on both sides of the camera, what advice would you give to someone that wanted to either start getting involved or just some pointers of if you're sitting in front of someone that's casting you, what are some of the things that you could do to help your career?
The most valuable thing for me personally was the first time I held auditions, and I held auditions I placed an ad in this was years ago. It was forget about online. I placed an ad in the print edition of Backstage magazine, which used to be like the Bible for actors in New York City and all around. Placed an ad, and I came from, like I said, from an actor's point of view. And the casting person, to anybody who's going into an audition, they're rooting for you. They want you to be good. I would always I think I did a pretty good job, but I would always be at least a little bit intimidated walking in. And I wasn't auditioning 5 auditions a week. I get an audition once a month, once every 2 months. So it was a big deal when you had one. So there's that much more pressure on you. So I'd be that much more nervous. After holding auditions, you realize they're your friend. You're potentially solving their problem. So if you could go in, and it's always easy to say, but be relaxed, be yourself, just be you. Very easy advice to give, not always easy advice to take. But if you can do that, that's the best thing you can do. And just knowing that they're not doing you a favor by having you in there. Essentially, you're doing them a favor by giving them your time, and hopefully you're a right fit. And you're either right or you're not. Zach alluded to, he auditioned for a movie for me. It was an ad. I think it was Casting Networks, not Backstage at that point.
One of those. I don't remember which.
He was great. He was fantastic. I followed him on all the socials. I tried to be whatever. We happened to run into each other. The reason he didn't get the role was because we just went a different direction. It was originally written as like a guy from the Midwest who just got off the bus into Times Square, and we went on a guy with an English accent halfway through. That we changed it. He was great. And so knowing that if you don't get the part, it doesn't mean you did a bad job. There's so many things. He's great. He's 5'10". We need a guy who's 5'6". Or he's awesome, but he's a redhead, and we have a redhead. We need somebody with black hair. There's so many things you can't control. And knowing that is so valuable. After holding my first casting thing, I booked the next audition. It was a stupid little part, but it was in a Lindsay Lohan movie called Just My Luck, and I had that mentality of, okay, I'll just do it, and if it's meant to be, it'll be good, and if they like me, cool, and if they don't, not on me. And I booked it because that was the mentality. So if you can really have that, it's a huge help.
Most of what he said. He's like, yeah, be yourself, unless you're a jerk, and then don't be you.
Or be that like times 5. And like, if this guy's this much of a jerk, he's got to really bring something to the table. I don't know what that is, but we need a piece of that, because you can't be that jerky and not be able to deliver.
Yeah, we've also been surprised at the amount of, because now it's a lot of video auditions where you tape your audition and then send it in. You don't have to go anywhere to meet the casting director and all of that, which is still nice to meet somebody in person, but a lot of video submissions and the last couple projects we've both cast will invite people to send their taped auditions. All you have to do is set your phone on a tripod, have a little light, send it in. We just want to see what you do. And the amount of people who don't even bother to send in that audition, and whether it's a low-budget thing that's not paid or whether it's something that is paid, people still don't actually audition. And it's like, what? Why wouldn't you do that?
That is actually incredibly surprising. So if anybody's, just follow through. If somebody contacts you, just do it, because you'd be surprised that so many people don't follow through. So just following through, you're probably ahead of 50% of the people just following through. I mean, and that's not a joke. How many people who you sent to actually auditioned for the...
For Matched, I invited 50 people, and I think I got 5 tapes. And I actually wound up...
And it was a paid role, so it wasn't like a non-paid thing.
And I wound up seeing 2 of those guys that did not send in their tapes on my set for the show I'm working on. They're just doing extra background work. But I saw them like, okay, I see where your priorities are or whatever. But it's just like, I know exactly who you are, and you have no idea who I am, but I'm on this crew, and you're just, doing non-union background, and there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody, a lot of people, they start there, but it was just very funny to be like, hey, wait, why do I know you? Oh, yeah, you're the guy who didn't bother to follow through, which is not the impression you want to leave on anybody, I think. But
And getting to peek behind the curtain and see on both sides, because you get to be in front of the desk when you're auditioning and behind the desk, it's amazing when you can actually have all your eyes open and see how things really go. Little things go such a long way. And that's probably just in life. Forget about acting. Just little things go a long way. Follow through, people. I feel like my guidance counselor. Loring, you got to follow through, buddy. Come on. You're good. Yeah, but just...
I sat behind you watching the movie, and you seem to totally enjoy it, but I'm wondering if every time you watch it, do you think, maybe I should have done it this way, or maybe this person should have said that, or the camera should have done that? How do you put it away and say, this is it, it's done, it's perfect?
you first or me?
I'm actually going to let Zach handle this one first, and then I'll...
Let you collect your thoughts. For me, since I do all of the technical things and the editing and the shooting, and then, it's hard. And there's still ones. Even in 2 of the films that showed tonight, there were 2 shots that I had wanted to reshoot and just never happened, or it was reshot, but I never got the copy of the high-res footage to swap out. For me, I just kind of... After it's screened 3 times, I stopped tweaking it. But yes, it probably still gets tweaked slightly here and there throughout the first couple screenings. Every venue is different as far as technical issues. Some places the color will look different or the sound will be different. We had screened Friday in a venue where the left and right channels were swapped, so everything that was supposed to be on the right came out of the left. I was like, okay. Well, for the most part, that was okay, but this point in time, it was really weird. So I went in and I changed the audio mix so that it would just be out of both and be less jarring. Because all of a sudden, you see her clearly over here, and the sound should come from here, but because of the venue, it was not there, and it was surprising and a little jarring. So I'm like, all right, let's see what I can fix. But I set myself that rule after 3 screenings. Stop tweaking it. But it's usually, we're in pretty good shape by the time we start sending it out. I try not to make too many technical errors, and when I do, I make sure that he doesn't like that take, and if he likes that take, I find another one for him and swap it out and hope he doesn't notice. And most of the time he doesn't.
I hate the whole, I get bored very easily, and once we've shot it, I'm sort of done with it. I mean, I go through the footage and I go through times and we collaborate with the editing, but I don't like it, and I just want to move on. So I have a very easy time. I have a very easy time because he does all the work afterward. So I'm not, and I just like to move on to, hey, what's next and whatever. And God bless, we would never screen any of the things without Zach, because he will ask my opinion. Well, what do you think of this? I changed this, and I honestly, I don't have the eye when you're looking at like color filtering and sound. He'll ask me, and I'll be like, I don't know. It looks the same to me, and because it's so subtle, and I don't have the eye that he does, and I don't have the ear that he does. So I have no problem moving on. We shot. Okay, well, let's do something else. Good, great. Hey, it looked good. Played good, right? They liked it. Okay, great.
There was a question over here. Someone had a question? Oh,
This question is for Zach.
Uh-oh.
Listening to you and the whole conversation, it sounds like you are very busy with your so-called day job. And then, where do you find the time to shoot his movie and your movie and the audition?
It's a lot of not sleeping. Perfect example would be even just the last 2 weeks. I'm working on this show, and by the time Friday rolls around, you're starting later in the day. And we typically shoot for 14 hours. So last Friday, filmed until 3 in the morning, hour to load out the location, get to the trucks, get home. He picks me up at 9, 8.
I think I gave you 9. No?
I think it was 9. And just, and then we go to the location to shoot the last 2 scenes of our next one because it needed to happen. And it's like, all right, well, I'm just going to have some caffeine and get through the shoot. And it was just, I was lucky because it was just a one-person scene. It was one side of a phone call. So the pressure's off and it's inside, so I'm not worried about locations. And I can nap after this. I can sleep after. But it's just a matter of you find your priorities, you find the time. You're like, all right, well, I can push this off. I can hold off on laundry. I still have 4 shirts and 2 pairs of socks. I got 2 days. We're good. The wardrobe lady likes me. They'll let me do some laundry on set. It'll be fine. I have thought about that. I haven't actually done it, but I've known the wardrobe lady on the show I'm on right now. I've known her for 15 years, so that would not be a problem, and it's crossed my mind. But you make it work. It's not easy, but you make it work because otherwise it doesn't happen. My last film, I wanted to shoot in May. The script was written. It was cast. I knew who I wanted for the crew. Couldn't get the schedules to align until November 16th. And I was in the middle of other shows, too. So it's like, all right, well, I've got one. Everybody can do it this day, and I'm shooting till 4 in the morning, but this is the day we can make it work. So we made it work and shot it, and I'm happy with it and doing all the post-editing now. But it's not easy, but you make it work, and if you're doing it right, you don't regret it, I guess would be a good way of putting it. But
he amazes me. I mean, I don't know how he does. He just explained it, but I still don't know how he does it. He's amazing, caffeine. And he's willing to really suffer for his craft, which I hate. Don't ever quote me on craft, but he's willing to put in the time, and he's absolutely amazing.
And just caffeinate and then know when you
Just
can
caffeinate.
crash. And,
That's
and then,
fine.
like, I could crash,
Trucker's helper.
later.
Good.
It'll be fine.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
We're funny, hilarious, so keep doing it.
Thank you
very much.
very, very much.
Hello. So you guys seem to be very motivated. Was there anything you guys were growing up that kind of like really inspired you to get into filmmaking?
My dad got me a VHS camera back in the day when I was making terrible, albeit, but I was making them movies. I'd make with my friends. I'd make movies with my friends, and my mom actually saved a couple, and they're awful. I mean, they're hysterical now, but terrible. I think I actually never really wanted to get a job, so that's what lured me into the profession. But I don't know, it's just always been something that I was drawn to. And then, I mean, I'm making a joke about not wanting a job, but
It's a lot of work.
it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and people used to be like, if you don't really want to do it, trust me, don't. If you're not 110% committed, don't. It looks great, but you don't see all the stuff that you got to deal with that you don't see on the screen. And they're kind of right. But it was just, I don't know, it always felt, I would always daydream a lot as a kid. I make up stories in my mind. Like, I tell myself in my head, like a bedtime story. I was always thinking of stories, but it just felt natural to just extend that. And I'm a complete narcissist, so I would, make the camera turned on me. Half joking, I guess, but yeah, I don't know. It always just sort of felt natural to just do it. And from a young age, I would do it.
Yeah, for me, I fell into acting randomly when I was 10, just going to an open call for something, and they kept calling me back, and then next thing I know, I'm in the room with Oliver Stone auditioning for the part, and it's like, oh, this is fun. Oh, they think I'm good. All right. So I stuck with the acting for a long time, and I still do it. I still pursue it, but not as much, because I just started learning more about behind the camera and all of those ways of telling a story. I mean, the guy, Rob, who played Rico with the gold pants, and then Gary, he's a great storyteller. You have him at a party, he's going to tell a great story, and you're going to laugh. Me, it's going to be terrible. But if you give me the camera, I can tell a story a lot more efficiently. And I enjoy telling the story that way. So I've made the switch back there, and I don't think of it that often, but when he mentioned it, and I think he's mentioned it before, and I've always thought of it. Back in high school, I did, we'd have Spanish class, and you had to write a report, or you could film the news in Spanish, or film a commercial in Spanish. So of course I'm going to film a commercial or news in Spanish, and there were no limits on the commercial. So, you'd have Coca-Cola commercial, and you'd have explosions, you'd have, a Trojan commercial with Trojan Man was dressed as Zorro on the top of a car driving out to Makeout Point. Yes, that was Trojan Man on the top of a car, holding on, no safety. It was young and dumb, but it was a lot of fun. But it's still the same thing. It's like, oh, I can do this with the camera. That's fun. I borrowed my grandfather's camcorder because he had one. And it's like, oh, cool. But I didn't really get into that until, the first thing I really would count as something I shot or DP'd was probably 2008. I did Chris Can't Cook, something like that. Like 15 years ago or something like that, I guess. So that math is not right, but oh well.
If you look up Zack Kron, you can see Chris Can't Cook on his IMDb page, I think, right?
It's on my website, yeah. I was so young and naive then.
Can I, to the guy who asked about the challenges filming in New York, I did the proposal scene in Friday. That's one scene that I wish I could do again, because when Laura wears heels, she's taller than I am, which just bugs me. But
when Laura's Laura, she's taller than me, so.
I wanted to be on the step above her. We literally had one shot at that because the ranger came and kicked us out of the conservatory in Central Park. There's a little special section of Central Park.
We thought it was just part of the park, and I had a permit for that.
We had one take, and so.
They were hosting an actual wedding.
There was an actual wedding happening behind us.
They're like, yeah, so you guys have to leave because we have a wedding here.
It looked like murder because you guys
Yeah.
You're allowed a tripod on New York City sidewalks and in the parks. You're allowed a tripod, but nothing else. You can't have a light stand or anything else, which is why when we did the part at the Met, we just had his brother there with a little light, and I was holding the camera, and nothing else on the ground. No tripod, no light stands, anything, but they just saw this light. I should have just had an iPad with a bright screen on it, and maybe we would have gotten away with it. But you have to find the rules and
But
and
I
the
think the
wiggle room.
conservatory is a privatized or something area of the park, so the public rules don't apply, so we were sort of trespassing.
They didn't tell us that ahead of time.
My question, though, is a two-part question. Lauren, who are your favorite comedians? Who do you like to think you're making films in the style of? And Zach, what do you do on Marvelous Maisels, and what's some spoilers for next season? Tell us about it.
He's the Maisel guy. But as far as my favorite comedians is not the same answer of the style of movie, because probably my favorite comedian is a guy named Mitch Hedberg. I don't know if anybody knows Mitch Hedberg. He's hysterical. And a guy named Richard Jenny. Neither one of them, unfortunately, are still with us. Do YouTube either one of them, Mitch Hedberg or Richard Jenny. They're hysterical. Richard Jenny, Platypus Man, is probably the funniest comedy special I've ever seen. And very clearly, those two are the guys. But the movies are absolutely not in their style. I think I have a weird brain. If something hits me funny, I'll sort of write it down. I sort of hope it finds other people funny, but it is different than those guys. He's the Maisel spoiler guy.
Well, I mean, the season I just worked on is already out and streaming, so I don't know if I can spoil anything. I do lighting, so I'm one of the set electricians, lighting technicians. So I set lights, I run power, kind of do whatever the DP and gaffer need from me. Sometimes it's, rigging a light up in a lift to shine through a window, to pretend it's the sun. Sometimes, because we have a lot of long oneers, long takes on that show. And the lighting that works for where the camera starts doesn't necessarily work when the camera's way over there. So lots of that will be us all manning the lights, manually controlling them, sometimes walking, carrying one, whether it's a battery-powered LED or whether it's something far more complicated. But we do all of everything that's lighting, and then, of course, making sure that people have power to the coffee machine, because that's very important, and and all of that. But just the lighting and assisting with camera and camera department and all that.
And do they shoot in location in New York, or is it?
Yes, we shoot in Steiner Studios in the Brooklyn Navy Yard is their main stages. They do shoot on location a fair bit. We've got a house that we go to a lot out in Forest Hills, Queens. There's a diner on the Upper West Side that's been closed. That is the diner that they go to. They did shoot in Paris last season. It wasn't stage. It was actually, they went to Paris for it. I did not. I joined the show after that. Same with Miami, right after they came back from Miami. And they did recreate some of the sets from Miami on the stage. And I was a part of all of that. Next season, they may be going to another foreign country, and I believe they are also going back to the resort in the Poconos. We start filming that at the end of May, but I don't know where we're going to be and when.
Any interaction with the actors, or you just have to do your job and stay away from this? If you and Tony Shalhoub have coffee or anything?
Tony and I haven't had coffee. My walkie was a little loud for him one day. But no, I mean, everybody, all the actors, they're all great on the show. I also, like Loring, stood in for a long time, which is where I picked up a lot of the lighting techniques just from watching how they were lighting scenes, not really realizing that I was learning that. But the first time I went to shoot something, I was like, oh, that's what a teaser is. That's what this does. So I still default to the stay out of everyone's way. But Tony's great. Rachel's a sweetheart. Alex is a riot. We've gone out drinking a couple times after set. So on set, you try to let everybody do their thing. They have their job. You have yours. But sometimes they'll mix around. I'm like, yeah, so I'm going to dance around you with this thing. Just ignore me as best you can. Or, hey, I've got to set this right in front of you. There's a big stand. Or there's a light on the floor, because that happens. And the lights that we put on the floor are, of course, the most expensive lights. So it's like, hey, that thing right there, don't step on that. But they usually don't, so.
Well, great. Well, I don't think we can thank you enough. It's great to see you guys, and I know you guys are great supporters, but always love having you here. It's always great conversation. Congratulations on the new film. Can't wait to see the rest. And
Thank you. Always happy to be here.
This is literally one of our highlights of the year. So we're always so thrilled to find out that you guys actually want us back. So
yeah, well, glad
He
you
picked
you guys
special
are the
wardrobe.
best.
Thank you very much.
I think we just need a few minutes and we're going to do our awards presentations. If you guys want to hang out for just a few moments. And
Apologize for all the Yeti fur on your table.
Anytime you leave,
Happens every year, you know? Listen, somebody's got to do it.
Oh, what a day. Jeez.